When we do videos like these, we do videos like these so people are aware. This video is to raise awareness. If you have children, if you're a parent, or if you have nieces and nephews, matter of fact, listen, every child around you as an adult is your responsibility. Believe it or not. It's your responsibility as an adult to protect these children. It's your responsibility as an adult to say something if you see something. Children vulnerable, they cannot protect themselves. This story right here will open your eyes wide. So after a guilty verdict, a man who killed his pregnant 16-year-old niece now faces death penalty. Right. Jonathan Quillis. He was convicted of murder and other charges in the death of Ayanna Sawyer. If you Google Ayanna Sawyer, you'll get way more of the story, but I'll give you as much of it as possible right here. So, Jacksonville, Florida. After a jury convicted Jonathan Quillis of first-degree murder in the 2018 death of his pregnant 16-year-old niece, the trial now moves to the penalty phase, and prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. Now, following about an hour of deliberations Thursday evening, the jury found Quillis guilty of the murder and sexual battery of Ayanna Sawyer and the murder of her unborn child. Sawyer, the teenager who was Quillis's niece by marriage, was the 5-month-old pregnant when she disappeared in December of 2018. The prosecution claimed that the child Sawyer was carrying belongs to Quillis. Mind you, this is his niece by marriage. This is a big old grown man, right? 30-something years old. And she disappeared. And it turns out she was pregnant. And not only was she pregnant, it is said that the child that she was carrying was his. Quillis now faces the death penalty, and a 2023 ruling in Florida now allows a death sentence with only an 8-4 recommendation by the jury. So Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, just changed the law and passed a new law that says in order to get a death penalty, you no longer need a unanimous, all 12 jury members have to vote yes. In order to get the death penalty, all you need now is 8 of the 12. 8 of the 12 says yes, then you're going to death row. And I hope this guy really gets it. Quillis was back in court for a status conference on Friday. Now, while he sat in the courtroom, his legs were shaking this time. His legs weren't shaking before. For some reason, he thought he was going to be able to beat this case before, but I guess reality is setting in. We've passed the guilty verdict, and now we are at the sentencing phase. So now is where you start to think, oh my God, I hope they give me 25 to 50 years. At least I'll be out when I'm 80, or maybe I'll get out earlier. But if they put me on death row, things are going to get really bad. So he was back in court this time. He looks very different. His legs are shaking, visibly shaking under the desk. He is slouched over in his chair. He wiped his face a few times. He would occasionally lean over and speak to his attorney in a nervous manner, as if he is looking for somebody or some way to find comfort. The judge and his attorneys reviewed the aggravation factors, and the jury will consider it in recommendation life or death. This is what Attorney G. Nichols said. The jury only has to agree on one. What those factors are, is there has to be proof that a crime was committed, a death penalty crime to become eligible for the death penalty, that the crime was committed in a certain way or for certain reasons. There was a tremendous amount of circumstantial evidence that the state's attorney's office was able to use to establish the stories that he had been telling about where he was and where he was not actually correct. His attorney is claiming that these stories aren't actually correct. Mind you, this is after he has already been found guilty, so his attorney's words hold no weight. And you know, the funny thing is, a little girl, right, goes missing, 15 years old, and the truth comes out that she was having sexual relations with her uncle. And she was pregnant, by far gone pregnant. And then a woman attorney takes the case to defend this guy. You know, if I was an attorney and I was a woman, I don't think I could put my conscience aside and actually go stand in court to defend a man after he has battered and murdered a little girl. And it's your job to follow the law, and he's presumed innocent until he's proven guilty. I know that part. But still, just the mere assumption and then looking through all the evidence and it all points to him, I would have had to excuse myself from this case. But hey, we'll be on to you lawyers and doctors, man. Lawyers have to defend people who they know within their heart of hearts are guilty just for that paycheck. And sometimes it's for the paycheck and the notoriety, because if it's a high profile case, and we'll be onto those doctors, because doctors, they might have the know-it-all and the wherewithal to save a life. But that person might not have enough money. They might not have the right insurance policy, whatever the case may be. And you stand there and just watch that person die. So anyhow, knowing as well that they were able to establish a sexual relationship between the two, the judge made a determination that enough evidence was presented to allow the jurors to hear the admission. Defense attorney said that they plan to call a doctor to the stand, likely speaking to Quillis's mental health. If the state attorney offices proves one of the aggravating factors, they would need a unanimous vote on the facts. The penalty phase starts on Monday, which was 2 days ago, at 10 a.m. That would have been September 25th at 10 a.m. The judge says that the goal is to have both sides close Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning to give the jury all day to decide. The verdict came on the sixth day of a trial that included emotional testimonies and an avalanche of evidence against Quillis, including testimonies from his own brother and a jail informant that Quillis confessed this crime to, and a 2-hour recording that was made by a pair of jail informants. You know, when they're locked up in a cell, a lot of the times, some of the people that are in that cell with you are informants. You don't know who is working for who. You think we all criminals in here. First of all, I don't even know why you would go into prison or jail rather and confess to having a relationship with your minor niece and then impregnating her. But they had a 2-hour confession tape with him. Somebody said, wire up, go in a cell with him, spark that conversation, try to extract some information. And they did. Now, according to testimony from prosecution witnesses, Quillis admitted that his niece, who was last seen on surveillance video at Perry Park High School on December 19th of 2018, she met him at Ace Pick-a-Part, where he worked, because he had told her that they were going to run away together, and she was ready to go run away and start a new life with him. Do you see how vulnerable teenagers are? Do you see how vulnerable children are? A lot of adults that don't understand this, they'll be like, well, when I was 14, I knew better than that. When I was 13, nobody could have tricked or manipulated me. Guess what? They could have. Somebody protected you. Yes. Now, while Sawyer was sitting in a car in the back of the property, she's ready to leave. She's thinking they're going to run away together. He gets in the car and she's ready to go. And he starts to strangle her. But he couldn't strangle her. She was fighting. And when he couldn't strangle her, he pulled out a gun and he shot her in the chest. And then he used a carpet to wrap her body in it and put it in a dumpster that he knew would be emptied that same day and taken to a landfill. So He knows when the dumpster is going out. He knew where to park his car so he could do what he wanted to do, get rid of her and get rid of the body at the same time. And he knew that the dumpster would be going to the landfill that day on schedule like it always does. If this ain't premeditated, I don't know what is. This man sat and thought to himself, how can I get rid of her effectively, efficiently? Well, there's this dumpster close to where I live, where I work at. I'm going to park my car close to it in an isolated area. I'll tell her, go around. You see my car in the back. Just go sit in the car. I'll be there in a minute. And then I'll clock out and I'll go there and I'll kill her right there, strangle her, put her in a dumpster. Too bad for him. She just wouldn't go. Now, according to testimony, Quillis had planned the murder for months because he believed that he would lose his family if she had the baby. His then wife, who is the victim's aunt, was pregnant at the same time as her underage niece was pregnant for this man, this monster. In the jailhouse wire recording, Quillis and two other inmates can be heard talking about the landfill where the truck was from Quillis' work would dump their containers, about Quillis' brother calling the police, and about the sexual relationship Quillis had with Sawyer. In the recording, Quillis described using a 9mm gun. I mean, I thought in jail, if you committed anything against a minor, that they would beat the brakes off you in there. I had no idea that you could go in there and just be comfortably telling these types of stories. And I'm glad that he did. Mr. Motormouth told everything on himself. So in the recording, he described using a 9mm gun. One, he said that he shot at a gun range the same day. So it was a busy man. He was a family man. He had a wife that was pregnant. He went to work. He had a full-time job. He found time in that same day to go to a gun range to shoot the same gun, make sure the gun works and everything. Sawyer disappeared and dumped Sawyer and her backpack separately. He dumped her and her backpack separately. Wow. And he told them this. So investigators had spent the next 16 days looking through more than 5,000 tons, not 5,000 pounds, 5,000 tons of trash at the Otis Road landfill. The search turned up items that were related to the case, but no human remain was found. No trace of Sawyer has been found. Because Sawyer's body was never found and there was no blood or body parts at the crime scene, Quillis' defense argued that the state didn't have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Quillis murdered his niece or that she was dead at all. The jury disagreed, convicting Quillis of the murder of both her and her unborn baby, who family member said was going to be named Hazel Mitchell Mobley. Several of Sawyer's family members took the stand during the trial. Now, including her mother, her grandmother, her aunt, her sister, they testified to the inappropriate relationship that they saw between Sawyer and Quillis. Now, I gotta say, man, if you see something, say something. Blow a whistle. This happens a lot. I'm a black man, so I can speak on black family. This happens a lot in black families because I know a lot of black women that were traumatized or have been traumatized from these experiences. It was an uncle. It was a family friend. And the sad story is, a lot of the times, they'll tell you, well, my mom knew. I told my mom one time and she said, shut up. And she said, stop making stuff up. My auntie knew because she came in and caught him trying to get on me one time, but she never told anybody else. My cousin knew. Several of her family members took the stand during her trial, including her mother, including her grandmother, including her aunt, including her sister. And they all testified to the inappropriate relationship that they saw between this man and Quillis. Her sister referred to her in court as SS. They referred to her sister in court as SS. That was her identity, her name given. She testified that she was also sexually abused by Quillis when she was 13 years old. So they let this monster in the family, and then they protected him. What was it? What was the reason? Because he is here through marriage. So her aunt went and got this pedophile, got married to the pedophile, and now he is let loose like a fox in a hen house in the family. Was it because he had what they call good hair? Was it because he looked Puerto Rican? Was it because he was light skinned with wavy hair? I don't get it. And I say that because that's the mentality of a lot of black women. Girl, he got some nice hair. He red. Of course, it's a certain class of our women that think like that. And it's a certain IQ level that thinks like that. But they are a lot. So understand, she said that Sawyer was in love. This is her sister, who said that this man also molested her when she was 13. Understand, she said that Sawyer, which is her young sister who just passed, the victim, she was in love with this man, with her auntie's husband, and that he was the father of her baby. She said that she knew everything, but she kept it a secret about her sister and Quillis for at least 2 years. For at least 2 years. To keep a good relationship with her sister and to protect her sister, because she didn't want her sister leaving her behind, running away, or becoming her enemy if she told on her. So you knew damn well your little sister was having an affair or was being molested and coerced and manipulated by your auntie's husband, and for at least 2 years you said nothing. Even though this is a man that did the same to you, it just never got that far. He just moved on to your younger sister. She said that Quillis wanted Sawyer to get an abortion, but her sister refused. She says, no, I don't want to get an abortion. She loves him and she wants to have his baby. He says, no, I want you to get an abortion because, this is going to mess up everything. His biggest fear was losing her aunt, which was his wife. A Jacksonville Sheriff Office detective took the stand during the trial and read disturbing text messages and Snapchat messages between Quillis and Sawyer. He said it was the details in her messages that led him to believe Sawyer and Quillis were in a relationship. But the missing person case turned into a homicide case after JSO got a call from Quillis's brother, his own brother, who recounted Quillis's confession to him, because he told his brother. After 5 days of prosecution testimony, the defense called 3 witnesses Thursday. Quillis did not testify in his own defense. When they are guilty as hell, they never testify in their own defense, because their attorneys know that if they get up there on that stand, they're going to tell on themselves, basically. Today, Sawyer's family released a statement after the verdict through her attorney, John Phillips. Today, a nearly 5-year nightmare ends with another measure of justice, the family said. We thank the jury, law enforcement, and the judge, as well as all of our friends and family who reached out when we needed it the most. Jonathan Quillis has now been found guilty of murder, and he will go back before a jury to determine his fate on earth. But he chose to end Ayana's young life. He was a predator, and the jury saw that in this case. We are grateful. Please keep our family in your prayers. And this is a article that was written by Marilyn Parker, who is a Emmy award-winning journalist and a proud NC and an A&T SU grad. and Francine Frazier, who is a Jacksonville native and proud University of North Florida alumni. Listen, y'all got to be careful with your kids out there. Y'all got to be careful with these men that you let into your family. A lot of these women be so desperate to get a man that when they get one, especially one that fits their bill, like, oh girl, he's so good looking and he's so fine, they see nothing past that. They don't see him over there staring inappropriately at the young children in your family. They don't see him doing anything until it gets like to this stage. One person says, man, I hope he gets the death penalty. He was crying and shaking in court. What about your niece and your baby when you were killing them? You there crying and shaking because you got found guilty? So sad for her life to end so senselessly. You get a peaceful death if it goes smoothly. You did not give Ayana a peaceful death. I talked and I sang to my babies when I was pregnant. My premature 6-month-old baby knew our voices. I could see her turning her eyes to us. God took her home. Your baby knew your voice and Ayana's voice. What about your baby crying? Please do not kill me and mama. I know a baby at 6 months is in the uterus cannot think all that, but they do recognize voices. It wasn't just the mama, but your baby too? Man, you are a selfish piece of work. And another person says her sister needs to change, needs to be charged. Her sister needs to be charged as an accessory because she knew what was going on and for over 2 years. And she didn't say anything because she wanted a good relationship with her sister. To quote someone, some may know who said, how'd that work out for you? How'd wanting to have a good relationship with your sister and keeping such a horrible thing a secret for over 2 years work out for you? I'll leave this one right here. Leave your comments in the comment section below and I'll catch you on the next video. It's Hot Topics TV, or should I say it's Brain Flow TV with the Hot Topics. I'm out. Peace.